Hi guys, Levy here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to set up the PlayStation 3 emulator to use Resident Evil Code Veronica X door skip for speedrunning. There hasn't been a guide out for this yet, and I figured I'd do one because a lot of people have had general interest in doing this, and I thought I'd set it up for you guys. So today I'm going to teach you how to set up the emulator. I'm going to have to teach you how to set up the door skip. I'm also going to teach you how to set up the Autosplitter, and as well as the SRT. So you'll have everything you'll need to get going with speedruns with this. Also, I will have all the links to everything I'm talking about in today's video in the description, so you'll have everything needed for it and you can go in and go. So first and foremost, what we're going to want to do is you're going to want to download two things first. First thing you want to download is the necessary prerequisite to do the SRT. So what you want to do is you want to go to the link that has the .NET 5.0 runtime. Now this is used to make the SRT work. It's just it's a thing that's needed for it. So for you, when you get when you click on the link that's in the description for this, it's going to come here. You want to download the X64 download. Click it. A file will come. Just hit keep. Wait for it to finish downloading. Click on it. Now it's going to ask if you want to install. I already have it installed on my end, so I don't need to install it yourself. So when you hit install, it'll install it, and then you can close out. And now that's installed, everything should be good. So yeah, like I said, so that'll pop up. And then now that that's installed, now we can go ahead and work on downloading the my Google Drive file that has everything that you need for this. So inside of when you click on the link for the Google Drive, it's going to you're going to see a folder here similar to this that says RECVX Speedrunning. You're going to want to right click it, and you're going to want to go to download. When you download it, it's going to come up as a zip file, I'm fairly sure, and then when you unzip it, it's going to come to a file that says RECVX Speedrunning. Now, inside of this file folder, you're going to see three folders. One's going to be the door skip master. This is how we're going to set up the door skip patch for the PlayStation 3 emulator, the PlayStation 3 emulator itself, and then the SRT. So the first thing we're actually going to set up is setting up the patch for the PlayStation 3 emulator. So what you want to go ahead and do is when you first open the folder, go to RPCS3, scroll all the way down, and right click and open it as an admin, or go to properties and make sure it always opens as an admin. So I'm just going to open it as an admin here. Now you may get like an update. You can update if you want. It doesn't really matter too much. I kind of don't like to update it because right now the version I have is working fine, and I don't want to mess with anything in case there's some changes in a newer update. So update it at your own discretion if you decide that you want to do that. So let me go ahead and make this full screen so you can see it a little bit better. So the emulator will come with the game installed, the PlayStation 3 version of this. Also, I should remind you guys that this guide is strictly just for the PlayStation 3 emulator. They're not for the PlayStation 2 emulator or the GameCube setup for this, or even using the console version for that. That's a completely separate guide that I'm not familiar on doing. I only know how to do this one, so this is what this is for. So if you're setting this up for something else, you'll have to find a guide elsewhere. But I will include a link on how to soft mod your PlayStation 3 so that way you can actually set up the door skip on that. It's a completely different guide, not by anybody with me, but I'll set that up for you anyways. So you'll have the game open here. So what you're going to want to do now that you have this open, close it out real quick. You just want to open it just once, so that way things open, that all the necessary files will pop in here just because you've opened it once. Now what you're going to want to do is inside, you're going to see all these folders here. It doesn't come with a patches folder. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to right click, go to new, and go to folder. I'm not going to do it myself because I already have it. Go to new folder and then name that folder patches. This is where we're going to put the patch that we use for the door skip for the emulator. So now that we've made this folder, we want to go back and we want to go to the RECVX door skip master. And inside of here, you're going to have three different folders that you're going to go to. Since we're doing the RPCS3, which is the PlayStation 3 emulator, we want to do that one. So we want to go into there, and we want to copy this imported_patch.yml patch, and then we want to go all the way back to the RPCS3 folder, and we want to go ahead and put it inside of there. There's a patch. There's another patch in here, but that's like a general patch for a bunch of games. So now that that's inside of there, what you can go ahead and do is now reopen the RPCS3 emulator again. Now that it's open, now you'll see if you right-click on it, you can see configure game patches. So now when you right click on that, you'll see that now the game patch for this is on. So this is how you toggle off and on the door skip. Another, and make sure that's just ticked on, and hit save. Now if it doesn't appear there, because sometimes it doesn't, another place you can see is if you go to manage, you'll see game patches here. Now as you can see, I have like a master list of game patches for other games. Just scroll down until you see Resident Evil Code Veronica. Pick your correct version, which is this one. Or it could be this one. I'm not exactly sure which one is which. Just make sure. I think one's the Japanese version, and then one of them is for the English version. So you can tick them both on. It's not going to make a difference. Save and apply. And now your game will be able to have doors eliminated from the game. Another thing you want to do is, I'm going to go ahead and show you the settings that I have for mine that have been most stable. I've had nary a crasher. There's still, we haven't really figured out yet like a perfect system on preventing crashes, but this is what's worked for me. So I'm going to go ahead and show you all of my things. So when you want to make your own custom things for this, if you want to change it, right click and go to change custom configuration, because if you just open the game, it's going to boot with the global configuration and it's not going to save anything. So go to right click and change custom configuration. When you pop that open, it's going to have a whole bunch of settings. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to go to each tab, let it sit, and feel free to pause the video and change things yourself. And feel free, if this doesn't work for you and you have some crashes, mess around with some of the settings. A lot of the settings will actually tell you what they do, and depending on your rig and what your system is, you may have to adjust something. But this is what works for me. And you happen to have something similar, if it just happens to work for you, I would just suggest keeping it. So we have the CPU tab, the GPU tab, the audio tab, the IO tab, the system tab, the network tab, the advanced tab, and then finally the emulator tab. So when you're done and you make any sort of change in this, make sure you hit apply and then hit save custom configuration. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is, depending on if you want to use a keyboard or a controller, it's your preference. I prefer using a keyboard when I play this because I feel like I get less input lag and better mashes. Go up to pads. I have mine set as keyboard, so I'll let you go ahead if you want to do similar controls. I have these controls similar to the Resident Evil 3 OG controls on a keyboard. It's very similar to that. So if you want to try out these, feel free. If you want to use just a regular controller or just set up your own keyboard commands, set it up how you would set up on a controller normally, or if you want to actually use a controller, you could do DualShock 3 if you're using a wired PlayStation 3 controller, or you can do DualShock 4 if you're doing a wireless or wired PlayStation 4 controller, or you can do X input if you are doing a Xbox One or an Xbox 360 controller. So there's a lot of versatile solutions to controls for that. So just make sure whatever you choose, make sure you hit save. So I didn't make any changes here, but I'm going to hit save anyways, and there's that. So now the game is fully set up to play. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'll go ahead and start up the game one time just for you guys, just to show you how it is. So the first time you set up the game, make sure you right click and go to boot with custom configuration. So when you boot it with custom configuration, the first time it pops up, it's going to have a bunch of information going down here as you see, and then you're going to get this window that pops up first. Now, I like playing in a window like this. It's not too big, not too small, and for some reason, the SRT doesn't work as an overlay when it's full screen. I don't know why, it just won't. But to me, this is big enough to watch, to play the game on, where you can see. If you're playing at your desk, it shouldn't be a big issue. Feel free to play in full screen if you like, but when I set up the SRT after this, you'll see what I mean. So it's going to go through all the normal things that, when you boot up the game. But I'm going to let it boot up, because once that's up, I'm going to show you how to do the SRT, because when the game, you can have the game open with the SRT running, I'm fairly sure. That's also incredibly loud, I apologize. That's just how it is. You can adjust volumes on your own, either through the RBCS3 emulator, there's a volume option in the configuration tab, or you can go down over here, if you go to volume mixer, you can do it there. Oh, and for some reason all my sound's gone now. Oh, looks like there's a problem with the audio back end. It must be something, like I said, sometimes it gets buggy, sometimes you have to restart it, but that's just the nature of the beast. Okay, so this is open. We're going to go ahead and close it out. I just wanted to open it once, just so when you open it once, it kind of gets all the configuration files already for you, so the next time you open it up, it's not as slow. So now that that is open, we're going to leave the emulator open like this. But next thing we're going to work on is doing the SRT. So the SRT is very self-explanatory. You just go to the SRT folder, and like we downloaded that prerequisite earlier, now we'll be able to do this. So you want to go to srthost64.exe and right-click it and run it as an admin, or if you want to, you can go to Properties, Compatibility, and then make sure this runs as an admin all the time. So that way you don't always have to double-click it. So when you go ahead and open it up, you're going to get this window, this command prompt window is going to pop open. It's going to just shows you that it's successfully started. Just make sure that you minimize this. Don't close it out. Minimize this. And now that's running, when I open up the game, you'll see in a minute now, you're going to have two windows. I'm going to drag this into this main window. So the SRT works in two different ways. You have one that's built-in overlaid in the game, so you can see it. But if you capture your window, say like on OBS, it won't show up. At least I can't get it to show up. There might be like some sort of overlay option that you can show. I haven't been able to do it, so nobody will see this, but they can see this. And you can set this up as its own separate. I think for this, you set up as a window capture, and then you just do a chroma key and take out the black, and then that way it works that way. So I'm gonna show you just a quick little snippet, real quick, on just how it works. So what the SRT shows you is it shows you your health. It shows you how long you're playing the game, so your in-game timer, how many times you've saved, how many times you've retried, how many first aid sprays you've used, and enemy HP for the enemies that are in the room. So just as a short little snippet, I'm going to play just for a hot second. This to show you that everything has worked and what you should be seeing what I'm seeing. So as you can see, my inventory has already popped up. And just to give you a quick snippet of how the door works. So as you can see, Claire has her 200 health. We're 14 seconds into the game. This, that, and the other. And then I'll show you, just for sake of the game, I'm going to get bit so you can see my health go down. So, see, and as I get bit, my health goes down a little bit more. And so on and so forth. So that's pretty much how that works. And then as you can saw the enemy HP on there. So the SRT is now set up. Now, the last thing that I'm going to show you guys how to use is how to set up Livesplit with Autosplits. Because if you're going to be running this, you want to take advantage of that so you don't have to sit there and focus on splitting yourself. And it's way more accurate than doing it manually. So, I'm going to include a link to Livesplit in the thing, or in the description, in case you don't have it. If you are a speedrunner, you probably more than likely have it. For all intents and purposes, let's pretend like you don't. And we're going to set this up from scratch. So, give me a minute. I just need to close this out. One of the last games I was running. So, close splits. So when you get Livesplit, it's probably going to look like this when you open it up. If you've never had it before. But if you've had it before, just close out any previous splits you had. And what we're going to want to do is, first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to do this from, we can do one of two things. If you want to set this up from scratch, I'm going to show you how to do it from scratch, but I'm also going to include my splits and my everything for the game setup in the folder that you get, the RE CVX speedrunning. That's going to include that in there as well. So that way, if you don't feel like setting up yourself, you still have to set up the Autosplitter, but you won't have to set up splits. But let's just go from scratch. So from here, I'll just move into the center of the screen. I'll minimize this now. So you want to go in and right-click and go to Edit Splits. You're going to have the splits editor open up, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to type in Resident Evil, or attempt to type in Resident Evil. Resident Evil. So now it's going to bring up every Resident Evil game that speedrun.com has. So you're going to want to scroll all the way down to Resident Evil Code Veronica X. Now I'm also just pretending like we're just doing, we're going to do this just for sake of the video for door skip glitched, because that's the category I'm running. So I'm going to set up for that. If you're doing any of the other ones, change it appropriately to what it is. But yeah, now that you've got Resident Evil Code Veronica X, run category, we're going to choose any percent because that's what we're doing, or what this purpose of this is for. So there's any percent. Now don't worry about the Autosplitter just yet. What you're going to want to do now is go into the additional info tab. Oh, wait. Oh, Livesplit. Livesplit was going to crash for a second. That's weird. Okay, anyways. So you want to go into the additional information tab. Go to region, since we're using the Japanese version, the NTCS version, or yeah, NTSC version rather. Choose that. This is the emulator, so we want to use as emulator. Choose platform. We want to choose PlayStation 3 because that's what we're using. And then for glitch use, we want to go to door skip glitched. So that's what's now it's going to be Resident Evil Code Veronica X any % door skip glitch. That is the category that we're running. Or if you're changing and you're doing glitchless, or if you're doing rocket launcher % or S rank, just change it whatever you want to do. But for sake of this video, that's what we're going to do. So now that you're done with that, we're going to hit OK. Now, if you wanted to set up your own splits, depending on it, because the Autosplitter splits on mostly items and a couple of key events, like defeating Plane Tyrant, or defeating Nosferatu, or becoming Chris, this, that, and the other. So they're item splits mostly, and a couple of event splits. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to right-click, and you're going to want to go to Edit Splits. And then you'll see right here, auto splitting, auto start, and game time are available for PCSX2 and RPCS3 and the Dolphin Emos, made by CapDap, who made all of this possible. So shout out to him. He's a great guy. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to Settings. Now, the way if you wanted to set this up manually is right here, as you can see, there are splits for pretty much every item, weapons, keys, tools, anything you want to make splits for, you can for things in this game. What you're going to have to do if you're going to do this on your own and not use my splits is you're going to have to, in your mind, or I guess watch a video of a run, and make sure that you make it go in order of what the items you're already picking up. Like me, it's like knife, and then it's handgun, and then it's like the padlock key. So make sure that the splits that you have are in the correct order of the route. And then, Jen, when you've got all the splits you want, just make sure that you have the appropriate toggles here and ticked, and that should be good for that. And then hit OK, and then put in. I would do the splits first, then add the auto splitter. And then once you're done with that, you should have a whole bunch of splits here. Now, let's say that you don't want to do it yourself and you just want to use my splits. You can do that. So let's go to Close Splits. Now, your UI is going to look a little bit different than mine because I have like custom fonts and such. Just set up how I want to have it set. So we're going to hit No. So if you want to use it from mine, go to right click, go to Open Splits, and make sure you scroll all the way down to From File. Then I have it on the desktop here, so we're going to just load it from the desktop. And then right here, you're going to see it. It's going to say any % glitched. Open it. And now you see all my splits. Now it's going to have all of my times on it, but I'll worry about that in a moment. So right now it's, Resident Evil Code Veronica X, any % door skip glitched. All of my splits, so as I can see, knife, handgun, hawk emblem, fire extinguisher, so on and so forth. So these are all my splits. It's all pretty well-paced items. It's pretty much every item pickup, so that way you can have a better understanding of, I guess, how well your run is or isn't doing, and then all the way to the end. Now, like I said, there's going to be times up, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to right-click and go to Edit Splits, and you're going to want to go to Other, and then you're going to want to go to Clear Times. I'm not going to do that because then that's going to clear out my times, and then I'm not going to have any times. So just hit Clear Times, it'll make it blank, and then you'll have it set up that way. Another thing that I want to make sure you're going to do is to make sure that it works with the emulator, is you're going to want to right-click and go to Edit Layout. Now, on the Layout Editor, you can add or subtract anything you want to have. Me, I just have the title, I have my splits, I've got my current pace to let me know how well I'm doing, like, my estimated pace, my possible time save for that split, and then the detailed timer. The big number is my overall time, and then the smaller number is my time for that specific split. So what you want to do is you want to just double-click any one of those, and you want to make sure that in the Splits tab, scroll down, you want to make sure that both of these are set to game time, because if they're set to real time, it won't compare against the game. Same thing with detailed timer, you also want to make sure it's set to game time. And then just for one more triple, make sure you do it right-click and go to compare against and make sure it's game time here as well. So for all intents and purposes, this should all be set up now. You can customize it to whatever you want. You can put a background picture, make it yours, how you want to do it. So now that that's open, I'm going to open up the emulator. Well, the emulator is already open. This should already run with even this being open. So let's just pretend you rebooted it all back up. Now, if this works right, which it should, we will be, it should automatically start. So we'll see in 1 second if it works. If it doesn't, then that means I just have to close out the emulator. No, we're good. So as you can see, the emulator is started. It's probably a little loud, I apologize. So, yep, there it goes, it splits, and you're good to go. So, yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. Now, it should automatically reset when you're done. So it's going to go back to 0, but just make sure you have, that you hit the reset button. Oh, another thing that I should also, another setting that you should make sure that you do. Right-click and go to Settings, and make sure that none of your hotkeys you have set for splits or any buttons that you're going to be using on the keyboard normally. because you don't want to even though it's an auto splitter, if you press an accidental button, you might mess with your splits. I have on mine on all buttons I would never touch during a run or during any time streaming. So set them to whatever you want. Also, make sure you have global hotkeys ticked on. If you don't have global hotkeys ticked on, you won't be able to, like, say I've got this window as a focal point. If I hit the like reset split button or something like that, it won't do it unless I have got the focal point as the splitter. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, that's pretty much everything that's set up for this. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it's informative and answered all of your questions. Like I said before, all of the stuff for this will be down below in the descriptions. And if you have any questions, I'll also have links to all of my social media. You can hit me up on Discord, you can hit me up on Twitter, or just leave a comment on the video and let me know if there's any questions you may have or comments or anything that you need to know about this. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this and happy speedrunning. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.